So this is Free Up Farm, and the top of the boundary line is sort of that big tall tree up in the corner. That is the highest peak in all of Dominica. So all of our sort of slope of this property runs from this way sort of down. There's a river and a ravine down on the backside over there, and it'll just go flow down the sort of mountainside. So what we decided to do is set up these on contour hugelkultur mounds, which is a permaculture technique. We sort of acquired, or like we're dealing with this land right after Hurricane Maria, so we had an immense amount of debris from the hurricane, fallen tree trunks, branches, leaves, vines that were scattered throughout the place. So we decided to sort of put in a permaculture technique using these hugelkultures, which is basically layers of different rotted material. You kind of want to start with your big chunky stuff at the bottom, where we use big tree trunks, moving it up to branches and leaves and vines and grass, and then on top of that we put a nice layer of sort of subsoil, and then planted all of our mounds with every sort of edible that you can find. It's funny because when I started hanging out with my parents and talking to my parents about sort of us looking for land, it was my parents that told me that we used to come up here when I was a kid, really small, anywhere from 2 to 5. We used to come different summers to visit family and do all that. So when they heard that we were looking for land in Syndicate, my dad was totally really excited about it. And after we came right after Hurricane Maria, that was sort of I guess the hair that broke the camel's back. We're like, if we're gonna do anything, we have to do it now. So we hopped in, came here, and
the vibes. Well, one, there's a bunch of parrots. You can hear one squawking right now, and there's one in that tree. I see it. Two in that tree. Yeah. So I think the parrots, that's something that's special to Dominica, and we saw a lot of parrots when we were walking around. We also saw a lot of eagles when we were walking around. It was very wild when we first got here, because it was right after the hurricane, so there was a lot of debris, broken trees, and a lot of vines that had just like completely taken over. But we were able to go with like our machetes, our cutlasses, and climb through here. And we didn't even get to see even maybe not even 5% of the property, but we got an idea of it.
It was way out of our price range, way out of
the size that
we were totally looking for. We were looking for more around like 2-3 acres. This place was 7. But once we saw the amount of food, that mature fruit trees that were already on the property, it was sort of like a no-brainer. In the back of the place, there's old growth forest, and you just can't beat that, So,
and we have a river in the back too.
And the river's in the back, and once we were able to put the earthworks in and start shaping this place to store and hold all the energy that comes into it, it just blew up. And just to show the diversity that's sort of going on here, basil, big Thai, delicious basil, edible hibiscus, a delicious perennial green, lemongrass, sort of bounding everything, taro or dasheen, turmeric, this is a local oregano, this is a local coffee substitute, Café Zepiat, or wild coffee. There's dill inside there, beautiful mulberry tree coming up, all the sort of like spindly things, mama papaya tree, actively playing with nitrogen fixers inside of these mounds. So there's pigeon pea that you see has been cut back many times. They say that by cutting back these nitrogen fixing trees in the right sort of moon and the right time, you take the nitrogen that they're able to fix from the sky and shoot it out through the soil. So we've cut these things back many times, and they're sort of littered throughout the whole place. Bananas right off of the bunch. I'll pick one of the bird ones because they're usually the sweetest. One down the mountains over here. The same hugelkultur situation continues throughout these mounds going into the back. This one has mangosteen and cacao and breadfruit and lychee, avocado and mango and cherry guavas at the end. So all of them are fully loaded. We have the taro sort of around the end, the dasheen around the end, sweet potato covering as a ground cover in some places, basil mixed out, mulberry shooting through, and pigeon pea all up on the top. It's just a very cool microclimate. It allows us to grow a bunch of different things. You know, we're going to be jumping into coffee and things like that soon. So yeah, in terms of permaculture, it's the perfect climate to start something like this. You have an abundance of water, the cool, the hot. And you can see from what, you know, the practices that were put in place how well they do here. It's awesome.
When I think of permaculture, I think of mimicking what nature already does. Instead of enforcing what you want, you see what you want and you see how nature already does those things and you work with it. So, you know, you're using different herbs, you're using different plants that attract different insects to help you out.
It's about observing, right? That's one of the key ones, is observing how nature tends to work, right? And then basically tailoring her strong suits to produce large amounts of food for communities, right? But you have to take that time to watch what she does if you leave her alone, you know, and see how she produces when humans aren't involved. It's not thoughtless action, right? You're trying to plan and design systems that you know, based on the forests around you, that they'll only get bigger and stronger and more mature, sort of stability-wise, as they get older. But it's this sort of skill set of understanding how the natural world works in that climate, and then using that sort of those observations to help build healthy communities. These are our idea for these mounds in the back. So if you look back inside, you can't really see it, but back all across this line going to the boundary over there where those tall trees are, all across, is all our forest. So it's basically old growth forest that really hasn't been touched in a very long time. And this sort of area, we wanted to use those areas as our teacher. So we wanted to recreate a forest that's sort of as jam-packed, as tightly woven. It's going to really do well. And even in, 2 years, you have all of this growth. 2 years, a little less maybe. So really working. Everything seems to be working. To transition from a chemical to a permaculture or conventional to a permaculture farm definitely takes work. You know, we've been working really hard for the last 2 years, but you see very quickly, especially in the tropics, how those systems, once you put them in place, start regulating themselves. And especially as we're sort of among the few leading organic farmers in the area, and to tackle organic agriculture in the heart of Dominica's agricultural sector, I think is a good place to start, you know. So we're gonna really try and educate and share as much information that we can and demonstrate as many different organic practices here so that we can perhaps lead the way for, real change when it comes to the amount of chemicals that are used producing food.
Because I think with monoculture, which is mainly, I mean, in the States, that's what we practice a lot, and you know, you want 20,000 almond trees, or, you know, and nothing else, no grass, no weeds, no nothing. And permaculture is the opposite. You know, you want everything growing together, and with that, you see the healthy plants, and you get to see, and like Aubrey said, you do less, and the plants do more.
The amount of food that they produce 20 years old is enough to feed thousands of people, you know, and that's just a little bit of conscious design on the front end.
And not just people, right? Because it's like insects and
Yeah,
birds and
whole
everything needs to
ecosystem.
eat, right? And we're all part of the farm, and we need all those things for our farm to survive and to thrive. So planting different plants that we know the butterflies like, and the bees like, and the birds like.
The parrots will eat.
The parrots will eat, exactly. Sharing, you know. Because, you know, our first goal with the farm was, you know, feed ourselves, be able to, you know, stop going to the grocery store as much, stop, you know, depending so much on something outside of what we've created, and to feed ourselves. And we've definitely gotten to that point. And as the farm grows and it gets older, we're just going to have a crazy abundance. And to be able to, you know, have people come to the farm and we share that with them, or, you know, go down into town and share that, I think that's exciting, for sure. And then also with what Aubrey said, I think that when people come and plant things themselves and then come back a year later and get to see, oh my gosh, I planted that papaya tree and now it's 8 feet tall or whatever. So I think that's special. That's a fun part of the farm.
Something the ground up.
Sure, or maybe we do categories like herbs, then like. I mean, it's easy to look at too, so that's good.
All right, great. I can go get it.
Yeah. You go.
I go?
Well, we'll go.
All right. We'll start in the ground, right? So we're definitely growing cassava, 2 different types of sweet cassava, ginger, turmeric, galangal, some onions,
sweet potatoes,
taro dashin, tanya, teak.
We have a lot of hardwoods.
A lot of different types of forest hardwoods: teak, bois bandé, bois rivière, kawapit, mahoganies, blue mahogany, cinnamon trees, nutmeg trees, clove tree, kenep trees, loquat trees, ketembia, lucuma, what's the other one? Apple, pink lady apples, pineapple, fruit trees, I think.
Yeah. Guava, we already talked about. We have guava, cherry
mulberry, fig, like the purple fig.
Strawberries.
Strawberries.
Do we even have blackberries?
Aki, blackberries.
Wild raspberries.
Mulberries. Tangerine, grapefruit, orange, sour orange, ruby, like the pink grapefruit. Avocados, maybe 4 different varieties. Jackfruit, mango, breadfruit. Cool. Bananas. Papayas. Two or three different types of papayas, and like 6 or 7 different types of bananas. Red bananas, double bunch bananas, jewa banana, sikiyi banana, kokoi, 2 or 3 different types of kokoi, plantain, banana corn, banana fig, ylang ylang, night blooming jasmine,
roses, lots of flowers. Tomatoes.
Yeah, I love tomatoes. Yeah.
Lemongrass.
Maybe.
Kale.
Moringa.
That's good. Moringa. Oh, what's that one that has the big leaf over there? It's like an alcohol.
Oh, kava. Kava.
I'm sure there's more. But that's a good amount.
That's a good list. are what, 2 years into free up farm?